Hello, so this is my video on dietetics, which I promised a long time ago, but we all knew that I wasn't to be trusted anyway. So so hopefully if you're watching this, you are sort of interested in dietetics or going to study it in September and you kind of want to know more about it. And when I was kind of doing research and stuff, I didn't really have anything, not much on the internet or YouTube to go by. So I kind of just went into it like guessing, and luckily I actually really like dietetics. So hopefully this will help some of you to either decide whether to do dietetics or not, or just to know more about it, even if you don't decide to go ahead and do it. So first of all, what is dietetics? Dietetics is the interpretation of nutritional scientific information into everyday language in order to help people make informed choices about their lifestyles and their diet. And the main difference between dietetics and nutrition, or dietitian and nutritionist, is that dietitians are trained in the hospital setting within the community, so within the NHS, but nutrition is slightly different. There's no clinical there's no actual training within hospitals or within a clinical setting. And also the term dietitian is protected by law. So in the same way that I can't show up and say I'm a doctor, I can't show up and say I'm a dietitian unless I've got actual qualification and registration as a dietitian. But anyone could turn up and say I'm a nutritionist even if they don't have a degree, which is kind of a shame, but it's that's one of the differences as well. So in terms of what a dietitian actually does, so interpreting scientific information into everyday language. So for example, scientists know that vitamin C is a cofactor for enzymatic reactions that create collagen, but in real language it's basically saying to somebody vitamin C, which is found in oranges, tomatoes, lemons, is needed for good bone development and prevents you from getting scurvy. So it's kind of taking that scientific information which the dietitians understand and translating it into everyday language for everyday patients that you would see on the wards or anything like that. Excuse me if I do look down, I've got my notes down here. So yeah, hopefully that's basically what a dietitian is. In terms of what they do every day, I always get people saying, so is that all about weight loss, weight management? But it's really not. I've just finished a 4-week placement at a hospital in Milton Keynes, and I literally, the whole time I was there, saw one patient who was there for weight loss, who wanted weight loss advice, and that's only because they had asked her if she wanted to lose weight because she was in a care home sort of setting and she was overweight. Everybody else was, most of the people anyway, were people what we call oral nutrition support, which is people who are underweight and need or are likely to be underweight, depending on what kind of medical condition they have. Kind of helps them build them back up, either gain weight or just stop them from losing further weight or any weight at all to begin with. So that's things like cancer patients, just people who have small appetites in general, elderly people. Also there's a lot of it is also enteral feeding, which is people who have like lost their ability to swallow, or they've got some kind of cancer. Cancer could cause a loss of ability to swallow, but they've got like some kind of cancer somewhere between their mouth and their stomach or something, and they get a tube. The main type that I saw was an NG tube. It's called a nasogastro tube. I think that's what it's called, and it goes into the nose and into the stomach, and they feed anything. It could be food, water, medicine, or specialist chemical feeds are provided that are produced straight into the stomach. And by the way, when I say food, I mean like obviously liquidized, not just like a mashed potato, like I don't know, a banana straight up that tube, because it's quite thin, straight down into the stomach. Or there's also something called a gastrostomy, where there's a hole in their stomach and the tube goes directly into their stomach, and that's more like a long-term thing if they need long-term enteral feeding. There's also parenteral nutrition, which is when they get all their nutrients and everything given to them directly into their veins via is it called cannula? I think it's called a cannula. It's basically like giving IV fluids. So when you just like they put a needle in someone and there's a tube thing, and it takes all the nutrition directly into the blood. There's also dealing with people like with medical conditions like celiac disease, so kind of giving them advice, explaining what that is, giving them advice about how to change their diet to manage their condition. HIV patients, COPD patients, the list is endless. It's not just about weight. My point is that it's not at all about weight loss. Like, there's a lot of weight loss, obviously, but most of what I've seen anyway is about managing other conditions or actually gaining weight. Aside from working in the NHS, there's also the possibility to work privately in like other facilities. So for example, like eating disorder facilities or other things like that. There's the food industry, so all the food companies, they probably have dietitians who work out the nutrition content of their food and things like that. The sports industry, being a sports dietitian, or even being a freelance dietitian where you kind of work for yourself. These are things you can also do as well as being like an NHS dietitian if you wanted to. I mean, the freelance and the sports, I'm assuming. There's also, like, within the NHS as well, apart from just different types of medical conditions, there's things like you can work in an acute setting, which is basically working on the wards, and there's even working on the wards, there's different types of setups. There's ones where, the one that I was at, it was the dietitians were at their own department and they kind of covered all the wards. Some hospitals will have a ward with their own dietitian designated to that ward. Aside from working in an acute setting, there's also the possibility of working in community settings, which is where you visit people in their own homes and care homes and rehab facilities. So if the hospital isn't for you, that's not the only possibility with dietetics, with the NHS anyway. And there's also health promotion. I believe that they're actually kind of cutting these in many places, certainly where I did my placement, but in health promotion, there's things like the weight management groups. That's kind of where you'd see the weight management. That's in health promotion. There's different things like I went to a baby clinic and just where you just give new mums advice on diet. That was kind of, the baby clinic was a setup where like the babies got weighed. They saw the dietitian, they saw their health visitor. It was kind of like all the professionals came at once, and the dietitian was kind of just there to support with any questions that they had to ask. I went to a speech and language therapy session where it was kind of more to assess speech and language therapy, but again the dietitian was there to support with any questions that they had, the parents had, and with feeding and things like that. So there really is a lot available within dietetics and even within the NHS. And so the world is really your oyster. So if you don't like hospitals, it's not the be all and end all. There are other options. But when you do train, chances are you'll probably be in hospitals, unless you choose the ones that are just community. And there are some of those actually. I just didn't choose that because I quite like hospitals, which is really weird. But yeah. So in terms of course structure, some different universities do it differently. Some universities will do 3 years with all the placements done during the summer holidays, during the Easter holidays or whatever, I don't know. Some will do it, I know King's does it 4 years, but your placements are sort of in the summer holidays / spread out between all 4 years. Some universities like Surrey do it, you'll do 2 years with a placement within that time in the summer holidays, then you do a year out with placement in that year, and then you go back to uni for the final year and do that. So I think that's kind of the main structure. In terms of modules you cover, there's a lot of, on my course, there's a lot of science with it. So in the first year, there's not much dietetics that goes into it. It's kind of like biochemistry, just the science of food as well, physiology, which is, a lot of it is really related, but a lot of it seems very unrelated. For example, molecular biology. But the thing is, you kind of, the HCPC, which is the governing body for all healthcare professionals, they kind of require these kinds of things of a course, because it allows you to kind of get a broader view of science, and then of the human body, and then honing in one of those on actual nutrition and dietetics. So yeah, don't expect that you'll get there on the first day and they'll start teaching you about celiac disease, because it might not happen. But you never know. I don't know. I haven't been to every single university, obviously, because I only go to one, but you never know. In terms of the universities that do these courses, there's about, maybe say 15. In Scotland, there's Glasgow, Caledonia, Robert Gordon and Queen Margaret. Cardiff, Met in Wales. In England, I tried to do this in order of like north to south, but I didn't use a map, so forgive me if I got them in the wrong order. But there's Chester, Coventry, Nottingham, Hertfordshire, Kings and London Met. Actually no, Leeds is probably before that somewhere. And Leeds Beckett. There's also Surrey and Plymouth further in the south, and in Ireland there's the University of Ulster. By the way, as well as doing the 3 or 4 year dietetic degree, there's also the postgraduate degree. One of them is a diploma where you do 18 months and you don't do a dissertation. Another one is the master's course where you do a dissertation and you get a master's degree out of it. All of these will lead to state recognition as a registered dietitian, providing that you register with HCPC afterwards. Obviously, it doesn't really matter which one you do, you'll still go on to be a band 5 dietitian if you choose to. So if you've already done a degree in like something scientific, all the different universities have their own requirements, obviously. But if you, what was I going to say? Yeah, if you've already done a scientific course and you think, oh, I really wish I'd done dietetics, maybe you look into the postgrad course, or the MSc, or even one of the 3-year dietetic degrees, because they're not actually that long. 3 years is not that long for a complete career change. So yeah, in terms of requirements for the course, different universities want different things. I think probably the highest is probably AAB from King's and maybe Nottingham and possibly Surrey. They will want the highest grades, and then it goes further down from there. Don't know, I'm not sure of the exact details. But yeah, also one of the essential requirements is work experience, because they require that people actually know what dietetics entails before they go into it. Because like I said, everyone always says to me, oh, so is that weight loss then? And it's really not. So it's really important to have some first-hand experience of what a dietitian does. And this, you can probably just do this by like emailing hospitals if you know anyone who works in a hospital, or if you know a dietitian. You can also, if you live in London, which there's this thing called London Dietetics, which is a collaboration between, I think it's King's and London Met, and they run these career events where you kind of go and attend a talk or something on what dietetics is. So I was really struggling to get work experience, so I did it that way. And they give you a certificate at the end, and that proves that you've had some work experience in dietetics, and they basically just tell you what dietetics is all about. It doesn't have to be like a 5-week long work experience placement. It could just be like one day, an afternoon, a morning. As long as you get some experience of what a dietitian does, that should be enough, I think. Also, one of the things I did was there's a website for freelance dietitians. I'll link this down below. I'll also link the London Dietetics page down below. Freelance dietitians, and I kind of just phoned up. This is probably quite cheeky, but normally you're supposed to phone them up to book an appointment if you needed a dietitian. But what I did was I phoned them up and asked them about how they liked being a dietitian. So and some of them were really lovely, really helpful, gave me a lot. One of them, only one person said didn't help me, and that was only because she said she had a report to write for the next day or something like that. So but yeah, she was just one person out of 3 that I phoned, I think it was. So that's another way to find out. I don't know if universities will see that as work experience, but it's all gonna help you anyway, so you probably might do that. In terms of what type of students wants to do dietetics, I think a lot of people probably go, like I said, go into dietetics thinking it's all about knowing about superfoods, it's about really healthy eating, about kale, chips, and all that, naked bars, all that kind of stuff, which is probably quite useful if you're into that stuff anyway, because you're already down the right lines, I suppose. But what I've noticed anyway is, from what I've seen, is that you're going to be seeing a lot of sick people. You're going to be seeing a lot of people who have things wrong with them, some really serious illnesses and diseases, and you're not going to be like, here, have some kale chips. It's really not like that. It's completely opposite in some ways to what you think it would be. So people are like, for example, in some consultations, the dietitian is saying, have those chocolate bars, have cheese on crackers, spread the jam really thick on your toast, add sugar, fortify your milk. It's really almost the opposite of what you would think that they would be saying. Obviously they have times when they say things like fill up on vegetables and then eat your carb, blah blah blah, like to lose weight and stuff, but it's really not about superfoods and pomegranate and antioxidants and all that. It is, but it's not. So be very careful before going into dietetics that you don't run into something that you thought, like something different. Like, if you're not prepared to work in healthcare, then dietetics is probably not the way, because dietetics is a healthcare degree leading to like becoming a healthcare professional. And if you don't like sick people, you don't like thinking about death, you don't like or you're going to get really upset really easily. Of course, you're okay if you're like get queasy every once in a while, or you feel sad for people or cry, that's fine. But just be careful before you choose to go into it. I'm not trying to put everyone off, by the way. I'm just trying to let you guys know that it's not what it sounds like at all. Just do your research. And if you do want any more information, you can go into the BDA website, which is the British Dietetic Association. They've got a website, they've got loads of information about it, and about dietetics, about nutritionists, like about the difference between what dietitian and a nutritionist does. There's a lot of information there. There's also the NHS careers website, which gives a bit of information there as well. And also there's the UCAS website, which will tell you about like the entry requirements, how long the course is, and it will tell you which universities do the course that you can go to, and then you can go onto their websites and find out more. Be careful when you're searching UCAS. It's any course that has the word dietetics in it. If it doesn't have the word dietetics in it, it's not what you're thinking of, because there's like human nutrition, there's diet, and something else, human nutrition and diet. It's the ones that say dietetics, those are the ones that are actually dietetics courses. I know it sounds really simple, but just be careful not to be investing loads of time finding out about a course that is not the one you're thinking about. And also, the amazing news about dietetics is that it's paid by the NHS. So the NHS pay your tuition, so you don't have any tuition fee loans, which is awesome. And also they give you £1,000 automatically for the year, which is split up into monthly payments. I get £83 a month, which is actually not that amazing, but like it's the summer holidays right now and I'm still getting that money because they split it into 12, and like you can always do with free money, right? But there's also the NHS bursary, which is based on your parents' income or your own income if you support yourself, and they give you extra money as well. So some people might end up not actually having to take a student loan for their degree, depending on how much you earn or how much your parents earn and how much they give you. So that's like for maintenance and stuff like that. So it's really awesome financially. which is great. And also, I absolutely 100% recommend Dietetics if you're having second thoughts, just or if you're just wondering what you want to do with your life. I honestly believe that dietetics is a great career, and I'm really, really pleased that I've decided to go into it. And yeah, absolutely love my course. Love being at university, if that's also another decision for you. So if you're wondering, if you want to know more, let me know down in the comments. Feel free to message me. Yeah, like, share, subscribe, and yeah, thank you for watching, and hopefully this has been helpful. Bye.